Okay, this is Athena Jezik again, working on, we're going to show more specific things with shoulders. Some of this is answering some questions that have been questions that have come to me on the internet. We did talk about these really tight muscles that are tight, you know, draining them out to get some more pliability in them, more movement in them. And then the other thing is going very slowly, working your way into the muscle. There's kind of some stuff going on right here that's a bit crepitous. The shoulders take a lot of beating, really. For one thing is they're just, these bones are really floating. The rib cage is underneath them and they kind of slide across. They're attached with muscle, and the only place that all these bones are attached is at the front of the body where the sternum comes together and the clavicle. It's called the sternoclavicular junction. And that's the only place that these big scapulas and the arms are attached to the skeleton. So we need strong muscles to support this. Also though, if you think about it, our lungs are full of air, so the lungs are in the top part of the body. So in some senses, when we walk upright as bipeds, we're beings that we're air, we have the lungs that are air that's suspended in air, so it helps us because the more of the weight is down lower, so the center of gravity is okay for walking on 2 feet. But with that kind of thing in mind, we have the force of gravity that is always pushing down on us. So if we start to sit in positions, or we drive, or we just, you know, don't do a lot of strengthening exercises for abdominals, we're going to start to hunch over and hunch over and hunch over. And it's just because the spine is taking all the weight, and then we've got gravity that we're fighting, and we have weak stomach muscles that aren't supporting, and we end up doing that. And then we go into these lines of least resistance, and no matter how hard we try to hold ourselves up into a nice posture, after so much of that with gravity, even the strongest of us give way a little bit. So that just is another reason why it's important to focus in on your body, on your health, on what you're putting into the body, on how you're taking care of the body, and begin to reassess your lifestyles to include this in part of your day. Because the funny thing is most of the time people will say, and I'm guilty of it too, I don't have time for this, or I don't have time for that, or I don't have the money for it, or whatever. When the truth be that we really don't have time not to do this, because what an hour every month will do for you is not measurable in anything other than great things for handling stress, for feeling more centered, for staying, you know, in a situation where your immune system is going to be stronger. And it's just an hour investment, and you know, money, and everybody can afford that. Where my confusion was as a younger person was how people would never pay for things that were good for them, but they would, you know, go out and buy drinks that are $5 or $10 a drink and not think anything of it. So I'm going to challenge all of you and invite you to start to take a look at the things like that, of how much you do really take care of yourself, and how much you do to make the body work harder. And it doesn't mean that you have to give up all things that are fun, that you feel are fun to do. It doesn't mean you have to give up a social drink or two, but it means to come into balance with it. You know, don't go overboard on anything. Eat well, pay attention to that, pay attention to your structure, pay attention to your flexibility, pay attention to getting in and using some of these deep relaxation techniques that people have to not only help your body out, but to also take yourself into a state where your stress is going to be handled. You know, when we can relax down deeply, we can sedate our nervous system and we can put ourselves into a rest mode that will heal. But when we're constantly triggered with these stress signals and the body's going to respond that way, we even lose blood to our cortex. The cortex of the brain, whereas our higher emotional states are functioning from there, as well as higher thinking, we don't have that ability when we're in stress, because physiologically we only have enough blood that goes there to keep the tissues alive. So we'll tend to have behavior that's very reactionary, very unsettled. We'll be very impatient with things. We'll not have a good focus. We won't be creative. We'll be edgy. But that's all because we're not able to turn off these stress hormones. And the physiological effects that happen with that are not going to be good for your health. So some of you may ask, well, what does it take to stay healthy? What does it take to do this? The maintenance of the body, once you have it into some sort of balance, is so easy. It's just every couple of months, you know, doing a cranial work or some other kind of thing that makes you relax, lymphatic work, or if you get sick or something not feeling right, to get into your therapist and let the body relax down and get all this stuff corrected so that you can start to build up and fight what's going around, or if it's a virus or a bacteria. There's just so many easier ways of doing it. It's much, much more productive to get in, have some work done, drink more water, maybe eat less, eat different things eat things that are going to heal you, take some herbs or some nutrients that you might need in moderation, and turn everything around. It makes so much more sense than to run to the store and to the pharmacy and grab medications that are full of chemicals that you have no idea what's in them, and no idea the accumulative effect of taking that kind of thing, and if it even works, or if it's just going in there to cause more problems on the body because it's so hard to process. And I'm not saying that medications aren't maybe good, because I think that they have their place, but I think they're very short-lived for their place, and I don't think they're necessary for most smaller things that come by. And I don't think that they're necessary for long-term use. And that is my opinion, based on the experience and what I've seen in people's health, because people who are not medicated are healthier in the long run. They get less disease, they get less sick, they think better, their emotions are better, they're just in a different state of being. So I haven't really explained much about the shoulders, but I've been letting you see quite a bit of just working them and stretching them. And there's another thing I want to tell you, is that sometimes when people are doing massages for somebody, they'll find a knot and they'll get on that knot and they'll just like push forever and do all this stuff, so much so that they might even bruise the skin a little bit, or even bruise deeper in. That's not the way to let go of knots. It's just not the way to do it. You have a little crepitus here at this attachment. You don't want to just steer yourself into it like that. You want to work around it, because some of that stuff is really wound up and it just takes some unwinding. But please be mindful of what you're doing. Be mindful that it's really an honor to be able to work on somebody, because their body is their most sacred thing. We've been giving this great vehicle to get around in. It should be well taken care of, and we should enjoy our life and learn the lessons we need to learn and grow. And of course, my motto and my belief, total belief, is when we start to take care of ourselves and heal ourselves, then we can really be effective in moving outside and healing the planet and the world. But as long as we're neglecting ourselves, we're being hypocritical to pretend like we're going to make any difference in the world when we can't even discipline ourselves to keep ourselves from getting ill. So thank you so much, all of you. I appreciate your emails. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate all of you for your inquiries about what this work is all about and how it can benefit you and your family.